Hey everyone, welcome to the Learn with Lunch. Oh my God, welcome to the Learn with Launch at lunch. I never get this right. I'm so sorry. We're live on LinkedIn today and also on YouTube. This will be available as a recording afterwards. So don't worry if you need to dash out to get a supermarket shop. I think Danny's supermarket shop has actually just turned up, but luckily someone else is going to get that. Just before we introduce ourselves, just to let you know, if you're watching this live, it's interactive. Ask questions as we go along. You've got an opportunity to talk to Launch's head of paid media here. So please do ask us questions as we go along. And if not, if you're watching this back, then absolutely drop us a message on LinkedIn or one of our emails, and I'll pop that up later. And yeah, this is about having a conversation as well. We chose a bit of a provocative headline today. Your CFO thinks Google Ads is a money pit, and here's how to prove them wrong. And the reason that we chose that as a title is we're increasingly seeing the board caring about what the Google Ads spend is. And when I say Google Ads, I really mean paid media in general, but in particular, we're going to be focusing on Google Ads today because each platform has got its own nuances. And no question, the CFOs are interested in what's happening with forecasting, what can we do about budgets, what is the potential, and we've now got CEOs in our performance meetings, CFOs in our performance meetings, so it felt like a very timely time to have this conversation, and obviously everyone pre-bank holiday wants to be talking about Google Ads. I mean, like, it's a no-brainer. So let's introduce ourselves. I'm Jay. I'm the founder and CEO of Launch, and our little fun fact we're doing today is our favorite ice cream, and mine is rum and raisin, because you can kind of two birds in one stone, a drink and an ice cream at the same time.
I don't know what that says about you, but as Jay said, I'm Danny, head of paid at Launch, been in paid media over 10 years. My favourite, and I don't know, I was going to Google quickly the pronunciation of it, but straticalia, which is vanilla ice cream with chocolate drizzled through it. Like, yes, that is my go-to. Yeah.
If there are any Italians watching this, I do apologise for that pronunciation, but you know, I think it's good. Right. Maybe comments whether there was a better pronunciation there, but awesome, Danny. Okay, well, let's get started. I think one of the questions that I get kind of asked by CFOs and CEOs now is, can you actually still make money from Google Ads? You know, marketing directors are having to prove their worth more and more. Is Google Ads still worth it, Danny? Come on, give us a lowdown.
It is. It definitely is, because we wouldn't be an agency if we were, and the agencies that are out there doing it. It definitely is. I think it's about looking at the right metrics and understanding what you're trying to do. How are you trying to use the media to instigate growth, to instigate revenue? What is the challenges that you potentially will come up against that way? But holistically and looking at it, yes, it will make money.
Well, what's the backdrop that we're kind of operating in now? It's 2025 at this point, where more than halfway through the year, we're approaching Q4 fast. What's kind of got us here?
I think one of the things that we've noticed as an agency now is the conversations that we're having, we probably would have had 4 years ago. Like potentially coming off the back of COVID or pre. I think let's take us back to pre-COVID. Everybody was in a bit of a state of everybody was increasing. It was looking good. Everybody hit that COVID drop, and the online activity actually obviously fast forwarded everything 3, 4, 5 years potentially in some industries and markets, and that short period of what budget went further, reduced budget actually received. I think that expectation of unrealistic expectations of what a paid media channel back in 2021, 2022 could do, then fast forward it 3 years to go, okay, why am I not seeing growth like I did 3 years, 4 years ago, or the volume of what it was we were getting, whether it was a ROAS, we spoke about metrics earlier about what's your favorite metric. If it's ROAS, it was 10x 4 years ago, it's now 7x. Why can't, or it's 4x, why can I not get that? And I think there's an expectation of what's happened in the market and the industry definitely, and how that's inflated it. And those conversations.
So almost like budgets were going further before, because you had this situation where everybody is having to shop online. People are now much more willing, during COVID times, to be looking at new brands. If you were there, as long as your presence was good and your product was good, you pretty much were going to succeed. But that's very, very different in 2025.
Yeah, everybody was sat behind a screen, whether that was through the day, on a night, on an evening, on a weekend. Nobody had anything to do, anywhere to go. So yeah, there was a lot of the online activity increased. Then you come out of the back of that, and life happens. Obviously everybody went through different experiences during COVID, but the revenge travel, the experience-led side of it that you wanted as a human, that you were thinking out, you were craving for that experience. It wasn't, okay, I've bought enough stuff through lockdown, now let's go experience the world again. We saw that definitely as from a travel, as an agency.
Travel took off, and even actually the cost of living crisis that kind of came, it still was tempered a bit. People were treating themselves. They still were buying luxury items. Travel was doing well. But fast forward, we've now got unstable political situation, really not sure what's happening with regards to world politics. And let's not forget the backdrop that now the metrics are much, much harder to measure. I know that in a couple of weeks' time, we've got another LinkedIn Live. I'll just drop I will drop in the comments the link for that. That's all going to be about measurement. So I know that you'll talk a bit today about measurement and the importance of having a strong measurement structure, but it is in a backdrop of a really tough privacy situation. So where is Google Ads with all of this now? How has Google Ads evolved since that pre-COVID, all of that change over the last 5 years? Where is it now?
Yeah, obviously privacy, and then recent, the one that you were talking about is the VPN and how that's and the age verification, and how that's going to potentially would have a knock on into traffic and ad blockers and things like that. And that'll be great to discuss with Ian on your later podcast. But from an ads perspective, there is this Google from a product team are really, they're great. We're a great partner with them, and I've been on a call this morning with our Google rep, and the products that are coming out are great. There is very much feeding the data, I think, is the first element of getting the data right, and it's getting that clean, accurate data from whether that's the back end of Shopify or that is coming, or it's funneling Phosphor or Clar or Bloomreach or anything from a metrics point of view, but also
can you explain what those are?
So from a e-commerce point of view, we work with a number of brands that all have sort of different attribution, and I hate the word single source of truth, because I don't think anything now is a single source of truth. I think there's too many metrics, but this is something that that a lot of our brands rely on in terms of understanding what their customer acquisition cost is, and what their ratio to new versus existing is, and where the spend is going, and looking at the full channel mix of what they're trying to do from a growth point of view. And again, we work with a number of those. So Clar, Phosphor, Converge is another one that we work with, Suite Analytics. These are all platforms and products that our clients and our brands, and we are seeing more of these appear, are using and want to use more of. But how, again, it's all well and good just signing up and saying, yes, we'll use this because it works there. How is that then funneling your paid media activity? How are you getting the right signals and the right data back into, whether it's Meta, or whether it's Google, or it's Pinterest, or it's TikTok? How are we using that data to come back in? So I think,
can you give an example of how you would use that Bloomreach data to how does that Bloomreach data, for example, that audience data, fuel the Google Ads that you're running?
So on the long and the short answer is it's given us the levers to pull for new and existing. I think it gives us, first and foremost, is we're able to pull that data out, extract it, know what we're spending from a media point of view if we look at it in a very siloed function and go, okay, from the paid media last month, this was the return, this was the revenue growth, where did we see the customer acquisition cost on new versus existing, and also then start modeling lifetime customer value off the back of it to then predict and then potentially start looking at forecasting. But it gives us the levers to go, do we need more of this? Do we need less of that? What is seasonality coming in? What's the client looking like from a stock perspective? An e-commerce fashion brand that uses Bloomreach, how do we then play that with their stock availability questions that they may have at their end as well? So that everything is off data. We can't do it off a gut feeling of what we think. There's going to be an element from a client.
More nuanced data. It's data not just driven from what the platforms are saying, but more nuanced to add in the gaps of where potentially we're missing steps in the journey that Google Ads as an interface isn't picking up. We've got server-side tracking and tools like Bloomreach and Klar that give us in-depth information. That's really the only way to do it now, would you say?
Yes, it is. I think when we start looking at I think discrepancy is always a bit of a key word when you start talking about the data side of it and how that the revenue in the platform, how does it match up to GA4 or any other platform that you're looking at? How close is that to there? Obviously, GA4 has come a long way since it first got introduced. But using these platforms now, taking the conversion actions, Ian can go into this a bit more detail, but by doing that, we're running at 95-98% accuracy and matchback rate, so we can really make fundamental changes in platform on the right data, on the clean data. I think going back to your first question as well about where is Google Ads going, there's a big push on search. There's going to be from a broad and an AI point of view, how the AI overviews and the AI mode from a UK aspect are going to get introduced later this year into the ad space. We're using it and testing it with clients that we're running in the US at the moment in time, which is great to see. It means that there's going to be more real estate, more ads out there for people within search. Our opinion is
the idea that the search sphere is shrinking is actually not right. It's actually expanding.
Yeah, it's not. It is expanding. They're putting in more real estate to be able to bid on. And what search is doing, which is something from a Google side, is they can see that majority of their revenue sits within search. But what they're trying to do from a search aspect is how do we take that revenue, which is why I go back to what they're doing with the product. How do they go and meet that customer where they are rather than waiting for you to come to them? So it's something that we're testing with the clients in the US is using that AI function in the ads platforms, which is a bit more black box. It's keywordless. Is going to be the new buzzword for the year with Google, and it's based off website and the data on that side of it and URL links to the right pages. But how do we go and meet that customer where they're in the discovery phase rather than going, oh, we bid for X keyword and we wait for them to search that? You're not going to get that with traditional search at the moment in time, but that is now coming because everybody's search patterns have now not just that messy middle. It's kind of just exploded all over the place, and you need to be in a really good, discovery phase is key. It's got to be there, and I think again goes back to that first bit we were talking about COVID. Those discussions about brand building is the bit that we're having those conversations now that we probably would have had, on the exit of COVID, but that wasn't. Everything was working well, performance was good, and it's as traffic dissipates for a brand that we now need to then build that up 3 years later. That's what you kind of see now.
I popped up here. I'm aware that I'm glitching slightly today, which I think is the joy of having two teenagers home, probably gaming at the same time while I do this LinkedIn Live. But I've just popped up the QR code for our resources page because you went to the Future of Search recently, didn't you? The Google Future of Search event where AI mode and and some of these things were talked about. Were there any particular other learnings from there that marketeers should be aware of?
I think the were not learning, but one of the key ones that I thought was like 1 in 5 searches now visual, which is staggering to kind of from an agency that works with a lot of e-commerce brands. That circle to search function and the image search function in Google is, yeah, how key is that now? That's going to play out in somebody seeing a product, snapping it. How do we use Google Lens? How is that now going to get integrated into everyday life of not just keywords, which is suddenly then the biggest thing that we can learn is making sure that I will always talk about feeds. I love shopping feeds, but making sure there's a feed element to that of how that's matching back as well.
One of the things that Google published recently was the Google effectiveness equation, where clearly they were acknowledging the importance of full funnel. It was their answer really to the wider kind of measurement and attribution and an understanding of bringing the customer journey into the heart of what we're doing from a search and a paid media point of view. A really interesting, I'll link again that white paper in the comments. But I think now understanding how our playbook is changing from a Google Ads point of view to be able to make those budgets go further, to be able to get effectiveness, efficiency, and then proactivity. I'd love to hear kind of what you think needs to change with or how we are changing our approach to Google Ads.
Yeah, I think we've kind of got a bit of a three-step function of how we're trying to do it. So step one's direction and alignment, which goes into then foundation and structure, which then goes into growth and market readiness. I think they're the 3 key ones. Direction and alignment, there's defining a North Star. I think it's something that we've been very hot on every client and making sure that we have, what is the business goals? Is it revenue? Is it ROAS? Is it new customers? What are they trying to achieve for this business year, for the next 2, 3, 5 years? What are they trying to do? And how?
Which, by the way, you would think would be a no-brainer, but it is quite often that we are maybe given 2 North Stars, where you have new customers and then you have revenue, both as North Stars, but actually both need a different strategy. So like really attaching ourselves to what the CFO cares about, what the CEO cares about, is something that we've really lifted, particularly in the last 18 months, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I think that the media side of that as well, I think it's got to play a bigger role. It's not just okay, that's the goal that we want as a business. Well, how does the marketing and the media serve as the bigger picture function that's there, not just oh, well, this is the goal that we want, but we only need paid media or Google Ads if you went down a platform route, or Meta to do X and Y. Well, actually, what more can it do? Can it drive footfall? Can it drive store visits? Can it drive offline engagement? Are we building email lists? Like, what are we trying to do that will get us to that point, and potentially, work backwards? I think the other bit that would add to that would be setting realistic expectations. So making sure that whatever that goal is the media spend actually that's what's achievable that you're currently getting. It's quite easy to sit there and go, okay, this budget or target number that we're going at, and this is the media spend, we'll just 10x it, it'll work. But are you actually achieving 10x against that currently now? Is it a big jump to go from 4 to 10? How's that going to happen? Is that just doesn't, there's no magic button in Google Ads that goes get more revenue or get more conversions for not spending more in that sense. But it's making sure that those numbers stack up and they work. And then combining them both too, and forecasting properly is the last bit of that directional alignment bit, is to understand, okay, what are we doing? What have we got? What's the North Star that we're trying to get to? How do we then get there? And what are the other metrics and levers that we can pull from as an agency that we can then tinker with to make sure that we're getting the right desired outcome. But it's then that
and that requires team to really have meaningful business conversations with stakeholders who actually are able to influence those decisions. So I know that we're sitting in meetings now with CEOs, like planning out what could we 2x the revenue? What would that take from a media point of view? But it's obviously not a linear path. It's there's the law of diminishing returns and understanding where full funnel needs to come in. I also apologize. I now also have a dog barking in the background. You've got to love alive.
That's it. Part two is the foundation and structure element to it. So again, it's that making sure the data framework is right and is working. Making sure that it's not making it so without the tracking and the attribution side of it, that we're just guessing in terms of where we should spend the money or where it is working. Is it working hardest? So yeah, having that robust data framework, I think, would be the first point. Budget, making sure that again it's aligned to the right number of whatever you're trying to do from a budget element. If it's, I think e-commerce is the only one is the one that I always go to is that case of a budget of X is trying to deliver 10,000, 12,000 SKUs every day. And then when you start working it out on a product per day, budget per day per product is very small. So then you have to then kind of start looking at, okay, what's the expectations of coverage of products and is that going to get all the sales through 20% of the feed rather than what's the other 80% of the feed doing? Are we getting visibility? What's then the business goal and the need of warehousing that stock sat somewhere? And because what will work is always something online will drive revenue, but not necessarily what the client and a brand's best sellers are actually their best sellers may not be what's driving the clicks and the traffic through to buy that product. So it's working out that there's slight nuances in that way, and it's never a linear journey of show a pair of shorts to somebody and they go and buy a pair of shorts. The amount of times that we see somebody coming in on I think pre-COVID or during COVID, we definitely in home and garden saw a lot of people coming in for cheaper garden furniture products and spending above that desired price. So they were coming in on a £1,500, £1,200 products, but spending £3,000 on a garden furniture set. We're now seeing it the other way, that they're coming in high and dropping down low. So that is definitely a market shift that we've seen. But understanding that from when you're looking at your products and your budget and what you're trying to do.
Well, we have clients who are bringing in the nuance of profit or stock availability, or whether it's a limited edition item which won't require discounting. All of those nuances, and making sure that the e-commerce team are involved. So removing all of those silos. So the e-commerce team, the buying team, we've got the buying team and the merchandising team in our meetings as well, and that cohesive communication and collaboration between all those teams means that when we're in the accounts and we're trying to make that budget stretch thinner, we're making the right calls for what those overall business goals are.
Yeah. And the last one will be structure. And that goes down to a campaign structure in platform. Like, is it scalable? Can we just add zeros to that and will it work? I think the conversation's going right, again, linking it back to that first point that we discussed earlier on that COVID situation of building a brand that free traffic appeared 3-4 years ago. Now it's a case of, is the brand traffic there, and is it stagnant? Is it stable? Is it slowly increasing? But actually a lot of brands that we work with are wanting that cliff edge increase of how do we get that higher spike. You've got that play on what you're doing in a performance model of all the budget is very much sat at the bottom of the funnel and very performance driven. Are we just squeezing, like we always talk about, me and you, Jay, we always talk about an orange analogy of squeezing as much orange juice out of a single orange, and if you don't carry on putting those oranges in from a display, from a video, from a meta, from a more social, direct out of home TV, like all the brand building availability that you've got, if you're not building that, then you're just going to carry on trying to do this performance model that's then not scalable for growth. That's the side of it.
And that's the challenging thing. If you've had a post-COVID 5 years of unbelievable e-commerce growth, and then the last 12 months, maybe even 2 years, has been more challenging, that leap from hanging out in the consideration and conversion piece at the bottom of the funnel, that leap up to being more around awareness can be difficult because you've got the CFO breathing down your neck, wanting results, not wanting to, to loosen up those ROAS targets. So I know that in almost all of our Horizon sessions, which are our quarterly strategy sessions with clients, we're surfacing how much money is being spent at each stage of the funnel. They might say the funnel's dead, but it still works from that perspective to make sure that you're doing enough prospecting, make sure you're doing enough brand building. Again, I'll just pop up our resources page, because there are talks that we've been doing and webinars about that merging of brand and performance to ensure that you get that long-term sustainable growth. And that's what you're saying there, isn't it? That if you want to scale, you've got to be building the brand along the way. Otherwise, that high intent traffic, you're going to run out of oranges.
Yeah, you are. And then if you start thinking around that discovery phase that we spoke about on how search is changing, does the budget go that far to be able to go and meet that customer? You can't just sit at that bottom of the funnel thinking, oh, well, when they search for this, they will then find us, because there is so many other competitors out there that are doing what you do. When, even if you think that there possibly isn't, there will be somebody that's out there that is ready to show them at the right time and take that customer.
Just a shout out to Pierce, who's from Atomic Smash, great WordPress agency, who's watching live at the moment. Thanks for the little applause there, Pierce. If anyone does have any questions, this is your opportunity to drop them in the chat. There's about a 30-second delay between when you drop them and when we see them. So do drop them in the chat now. But Danny, what were you going to say next? Because I know we're coming on to growth as well.
The growth of market readiness. I think, it's scaling with purpose. So again, aligning it back to North Star. Is it right? Are we trying to do it? What are we trying to do? Beyond search. So that bit of, linking it back to the brand awareness. Can we take a performance model and just increase it by another 2 million sessions a year? Probably not. There's going to be some more awareness that needs to be done, and then looking at that full funnel thinking. So having a narrow ROAS lens can stifle growth, and looking at how we can balance goals and revenue and profitability and new customer acquisition, but looking at that broader funnel approach, I think, is key to getting everything going the right way towards that business, linking it all the way back to North Star.
I like that. I'm going to drop that into the chat. The three moves. If you say them out loud while I drop them in the chat,
aligning on direction, building strong foundations, and then scale with purpose.
Yeah, I really like that. Let's pop that in the comments there. So all of the changes that we have been seeing, and the fact that marketing directors have got CFOs breathing down their neck, and CEOs very interested in this budget line, that previously it sort of went unnoticed because it was such a revenue driver. Is there one thing that you would say to marketing directors that they need to do to involve the CFO and win that kind of trust and confidence from them?
I think there's a few things that you could do to get. I think it's getting their understanding. I think it'd be key. Like do they know the major change of how one affects another? I think is always key in that side of it. I think looking at some of the meetings that we've been to over the last couple of months, it is education is the biggest thing. Is bringing them along that journey to understand we can't just get from A to B without either investing or doing something different. Then the same stuff's not going to win and get you to an extra 8-10 million growth on year. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And what I'd add to it from a kind of a wider perspective is just making sure that you can involve them in meetings where you want to hear their perspective, because often these departments are siloed, they sit quite far away. And if you involve them and do that education piece, it can really help. All of the things about those, I disappeared for a second there, didn't I?
Yeah, you left me on my own there. I was like,
All of those tactics are all about those marginal gains. All of them together are what it is about making sure that your Google Ads is advanced enough to be able to drive growth and effectiveness.
Yeah, and you cut out again, but that's, yes, whatever you said. I think the other side of it as well is don't like that we talk about full funnel from a media perspective, but from an online in-store product side of it, like what's there's so many other areas that need to also tick and run along and improve. Click-through rate from an ad copy creative point of view. What are you doing from a creative aspect? How is that influencing the actual media you're putting out, despite what, doesn't matter what channel. What is the customer then doing on the website? So what is the CRO function doing for that business, and how is that playing a part? How is the paid media driving? If you've got stores, or you've got like outreach centers, or you've got a physical location, what is the online media doing to affect that change as well? Again, all trackable within platform. We can do all this, and you can find it. And then it's a case of, is the conversion rate, AOV, what are all those numbers looking like? And then leveraging on lifetime customer value. How does that then play out? Does that change the business goals and give you a bit of a room for margin to go, actually, we can increase CPA a bit, because we know lifetime customer value is X and Y, but again, it's all got to link back to what is the aim and the business goal that we're trying to achieve. I think that's the big thing.
Absolutely, and trust and partnership to be able to achieve those goals. Thank you so much, Danny. Apologies, everyone, for my barking dog and slightly dodgy internet connection today, thanks to 2 teenagers gaming at home. I've got Elon satellite. You think it would work, but there you go. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got 2 more in this series, perhaps even 3 if we find there's an appetite for it. The next one is all about measurement. How do you get those data foundations right? What are the nuances to be able to measure and then communicate with the CFO and the CEO about more than just, we don't even talk about last click now, but much more nuanced attribution and measurement model. And then after that, it's going to be about experimentation. How can you take what is then a well-working Google Ads account and then start to really bake in experimentation? There's a little comment from Jonathan Pierce just before we close. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Drop any more comments you want into the chat, and we can get back to them afterwards. But for everyone that tuned in, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.